And we are live, and you can start whenever.
Can you hear me now? I see you're on.
Yeah, you can start whenever, like you're live, so.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay, let's start with the agenda. The agenda was put out a little minutes. I mistakenly wrote June 11th meeting. It actually should be June 25th meeting. And Linda sent those minutes out. Comments?
Yeah, I do have the one item, just for clarification. I don't know, but we talk about, as far as tree removal, it's $2,000 left in the current budget and $7,500 pending approval in the new budget. But that $7,500 is not in the forestation budget, is it? In the proposed budget?
Probably be in the public works budget.
In the budget we proposed for the fiscal year beginning July 1, it was $4,500.
Well, I think we need to make some comment in the minutes about that.
So would you say something along the lines of $4,500 in our proposed budget request and $7,500 pending approval in Public Works?
Yes, I think that's right.
Sounds good.
Okay, I can make that amendment.
I make a motion to approve minutes with the date change and with that change.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, the next item on the agenda, if there's no more comments in the minutes, is the mayor's update, budget, new developments, and anything else.
Yeah, Lee, I went over your forestation board programs March through July of 2020 that you sent out just, I guess, in the last day.
Yes.
And it refers at the end of the first section to uncertainty. I don't know that I would say that the proposed items are uncertain. What I would say now is that it's taking a very, very long time for the city council to work its way through every single item of the proposed budget. They've had, I think I'm right about this, 3 special meetings so far. The most recent one was, I guess it was yesterday.
Yes.
And they're still at it. Now, the next meeting of the council is scheduled for Monday. It'll be a regular meeting at 7 o'clock, as we normally do. And they plan to do more discussion of the proposed budget then. So we might have some definite results Monday night, or we might not. but actually there won't be a budget for the year we're in now from July 1 through next June until the council passes a budget ordinance. And I submitted one for their consideration. I don't think they'll pass it because it's too simple. I mean that seriously. My proposed budget ordinance, you got to think of two things. The ordinance itself simply says, general government, so much money. Police department, so much money. Public works, so much money. And that's it. The thing you have to understand is there's a backup document, which is not part of the ordinance, but we use it for keeping track of where we spend what, and that is called the worksheet. And the worksheet is 15 pages long and breaks everything down into little pieces. And our bookkeeper uses that to track, as well as our accounting company, to track what we spend and where it goes. And they do that every month. And there's a report on that that goes out every month. But the ordinance itself, we won't have a budget for 2021 until the council passes a budget ordinance. And that isn't going to happen anytime soon. Because in my opinion, they're going to rewrite the budget ordinance that I've proposed, which they will consider too simple, and make it more complicated. And they haven't even started that yet. So that means that where we are and where we're going to be for, I think, another month or two, is we're going to be operating under the budget ordinance that applied to the fiscal year just gone by, which is 19-20. And that's what we're operating under right now, because we're already in fiscal year 20-21. And the law says that if council hasn't passed a budget ordinance for the current year, that we go back to square one and start operating again under the pre-existing budget. So if you look at the budget for fiscal year 19-20 that we've been operating under for the last year, that's what money there is for this, that, and the other thing. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay.
Going back to your comment on the draft report to council, I can just strike out the words why the tree removals were delayed. I'll just say it was also delayed and give no reason.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'll take that out. And we have Ron put out commenting on list of proposed removals. He said he was in the position to solicit bids, but my understanding was he didn't want to solicit them till the budget was approved. But maybe he could go ahead and do that using the old budget basis.
Maybe he could. Ron has left the meeting, so he's not available to comment on that issue.
Okay.
But yeah, we can talk about that when I see him tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Well, let me ask you, isn't this the time of year that tree removal's less expensive?
No, it's usually cheaper in the winter.
Okay.
In the winter months like November, December, January, early February.
Well, by then we'll have a new budget, I think.
I hope so. That's good.
Well, I can't say for sure because I didn't think it would. I gave him a proposed budget in the beginning of May, and here we are in mid-July.
Well, can we go back, Lee, to your comment about can that money be spent basis with the pre-existing budget, 1920 budget? I'm in favor of that we just don't sit and wait. I don't know what other board members think, but Lee, as far as
Well, if there's $2,000 that we can take action with, it'd be time to move on and use it.
Well, Linda, they're actually $7,500 a day.
Yeah, well, yeah, it would be whatever we had in last year's budget. Because the budget is renewed, that's my understanding. The budget is renewed pending, council passing a new budget. So it would be whatever monies we had in last year's budget, could be applied immediately, or whatever monies Ron had, which was like $7,000 or $7,500, could be applied immediately to removals. And it's probably based on what Angie was saying, some of those recommended removals are actually involve trees that could be dangerous if not removed. So
That's correct.
so that action should be taken now, not wait till winter to save a few bucks.
I would agree with that.
Mhm.
But in the thing, but I know Ron had a concern in his note to us, which was good, saying, you know, be a little cautious about spending all your money now because catastrophes come up. Well, we're not really a poor city. We really have a budget. The city has been very prudent in the past. And so if one of the catastrophes, we don't, you know, we don't sit and wait. If we've got the money to take care of this, I think it's our duty.
Yes.
You read the ordinance, it's our duty to do this. I realize if there's not money, it's beyond our duty, but if there's money, it needs to happen.
Well, the majority of these could be considered hazard trees. So they have targets next to homes, buildings, streets, etc. So you have to, you know, they all have structural issues that could cause them to come down at any time. So, you know, they could fail at any time. It wouldn't necessarily even take a storm or a wind. There may be a couple exceptions, but for the most part, they're hazards. So
I think what we need is a motion to ask the city to act as soon as practical on the removal of the tree list, which we've already sent to the city and they have in possession.
So move.
Seconded, anybody?
Third, yeah, second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we'll pass that. Great. And then the mayor already said he'd discuss that with Ron anyhow. So that's good.
can I just mention something real quickly? Monette Beam with the Sutherland Board is present on this meeting. She had texted me earlier in the week and told me she was going to be on, and she has no audio. So she's listening, but she can't respond. So I wanted to let y'all know that. And
okay.
Unfortunately, Ron isn't here, so he can't help us with that right now. So
She has no video either.
Pardon me?
She has no video either.
I don't know. She just texted me and told me she can see and hear all of us. She just can't talk.
Oh, that's strange.
So I don't know. Anyway, just FYI. So hi, Monette. I guess she can't hear us, but so I guess she's sitting in for Greg. We're going to be part of these meetings from now on.
Good.
Andrea, I had a weird thing happen with a tree that I got at Arbor Fest 2 or 3 years ago. It's a Yoshino cherry. And this spring, like last spring and the spring before, it came out in white blossoms, and then they dropped off and it got all these green leaves like it should. And a week or two ago, the leaves started turning brown, and now every leaf on that tree has turned brown, and I don't know what happened.
Well, I'm not sure.
I've never seen anything like it.
But it leafed out okay. Did you say it leafed out okay this spring to begin with, or did it?
Yeah.
It did. Okay, because some young trees had freeze damage. That's why I asked from the
Just
freeze we had made.
suddenly a week or two ago, all the leaves started turning brown, and now they're all, I guess, dead.
Well, keep an eye out. You know, you could scratch back the bark with your thumbnail and see if it's still green underneath. And if, as long as it's got green or a hint of green, you know, it's possible it may try to re-leaf out. It doesn't sound good though. I don't know. Could it be in a wet area or a particularly dry area of your yard?
No, it's
No?
just, I don't
Huh.
know. All right, that's not really a
They
forestation.
would
board
label that
issue.
transplant, Chuck, even though it's been a couple of years. I mean, for some reason, the roots probably are having trouble with, and it's hard for me to tell you over this call, but that's really too bad since it was doing well.
Yeah, it's 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah. Monette Beam now says she has video and audio. Can you hear us, Monette? Well, maybe not.
I don't see her.
She texted, but I don't know. Okay. Well, anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Continuing back on the agenda, if the mayor has anything further in the way of updates.
Yeah, I don't know how broadly you want me to go. I usually tell you where we are as far as the proposed developments by LDG, and that won't take long at all because there haven't been any. They were entitled to refile for their zoning change at Prospect Cove there near the Kroger gas station almost a year ago, last August, and they haven't done it. And nobody really knows why. There hadn't been any communication. There is a case that they brought in circuit court right after the council turned them down. Gosh, it's now almost, it'll soon be 3 years ago that they lost their bid in the Metro Council. And that case that they brought has now been submitted for decision by the circuit court. I've read all the briefs. I think LDG is going to lose that. I think we're going to win it. So that's, and as far as the one up on the other side of the Marathon station, there again, I've heard nothing. So there's that update. And I've already spoken with the situation with the current year budget. So I guess that's my report, Lee.
I'll ask you about the, what it's posed for within the city off of Hunting Creek Drive. Is anything happening with that one?
The most recent thing that's happened is that the city council approved waiving some rule about they're putting in sidewalks along Hunting Creek Drive as well
Okay.
as along Covered Bridge Road. It really made no sense to insist that they do that because it would be a sidewalk to nowhere. There's nothing for it to connect with. Other than that, as far as I'm aware, that project is going forward, but we haven't heard anything new.
Mayor Evans, I heard something on the news that Fisher was taking money out of his housing budget for something else. It sounded like it's going to be less. Did you hear anything like that?
The Affordable Housing Trust Funds, plural, there are 2 of them. And in years gone by, last year and the year before, they each got $10 million from the Metro budget. There was a piece in the Courier 2-3 weeks ago indicated that the total amount allocated to that instead of 20 million is 5 million. And then there was something else I read that indicated that the money in the affordable housing was at least in some part going to be directed toward the houses in the West End that have fallen into disrepair, of which there are many. So I guess the bottom line is that the city of Louisville, Metro Louisville, across the board is like most cities in the country, very short of money, maybe $70 million short. And they're having a hard time. This is why in Congress, they have been pushing unsuccessfully for a bill to pass that would aid the cities that have been suffering financially because of the epidemic. But that doesn't appear likely to happen. That's going to be really catastrophic for many of the services offered by the cities across the board. But there you are. I mean, they're just generally short of money.
Yeah.
Okay. We could move on now to our good consultants updates. Andrea, if you want to go ahead.
Okay. Do you want me to address the updates that are on the list here that you?
Yes, and if you have any other ones, that's great. All right.
Okay. Have most of you had a chance to look at these trees or yeah, okay. So I don't know what your comments are, but 6516 Turnbridge in Sutherland was one. That has several dead arborvitaes that are back from the road or the cul-de-sac street Turnbridge. I don't really think they pose any major threat to anything. They're right adjacent to the owner's driveway. On the other side, on the neighbor's side, which I think is 6515 Turnbridge, there's no structures or anything that I think would be problematic if those trees did. Really, arborvitaes could be used as shrubs or trees. I mostly think of them honestly as a shrub, but they're, to screen things. They're narrow, upright shrubs. They get real, out west, they can get to be big trees, but I just don't think that they're a major issue at this time, other than for the homeowner who's going to have to take them out at some point. Did you all agree with that, or did you have any comments?
Yeah, I don't think it's our responsibility to take those trees out, or, I mean,
Right.
they're way far back from the
They're
street.
far back.
Right.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
risk.
Okay.
Did they contact us because they wanted us to do something?
Yeah, yes, that happened. The property owner, I forget which one, whether it's 6516 or 6515, contacted me and asked that if the Forestation Board could order the removal of those trees. I looked at them and I felt the same as Andrea, that they really weren't a hazard or within the jurisdiction of the board.
Right. That's what I thought.
And I'll say the person that contacted me called me yesterday, and I said, well, the Forestation Board hadn't taken any formal action yet, based on our consultant's recommendation and the fact that at least Connie and I had looked at those trees. We didn't see any involvement for the Forestation Board. She was unhappy with that finding, but not hostile, And
Is she the neighbor to the people that own the trees, Lee?
yeah, well, the person that complained owns one of those properties, and the other one is what they're complaining about, and I forget which is which.
6515 actually has the dead trees. I just so 6516 must be the
They're complaining area.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we could just drop this unless somebody feels that something else should be done.
Drop it.
Drop it.
Drop.
Yeah, I think that's their issue, I would say. 80, then there's 8400 Westover Drive in the Estates of Hunting Creek. That involves for anybody that hasn't seen it, involves 3 Norway spruces, a fairly good size, that are declining and or dead. They're way back from the road on that property owner's property, opposite their garage, their driveway pad next to their garage. There's nothing next to them really on the neighbor's property. It's just kind of an open grass area. I don't really think they're a big issue for, an issue for us to get involved in either, since they're so far back on this person's property.
Right, I agree with you, Andrea. I was saying that this was brought to our attention by Brian English, who is like a property management person. He had received a complaint. He sent it to me by email. I sent that out. I think everybody has seen that. I sent him an update yesterday saying we didn't see any forestation board involvement either, based on the report you made and my own personal assessment of it. So that's where that one stands, unless there's any board wants to take any more action.
Right. I wouldn't think you'd need to, but are you all in agreement with that, or?
Yes.
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 Okay, great. Okay, great. Okay, Andrea, how about the other ones that are on that list?
6913 Bridgepoint Boulevard, that was a couple red buds that came down in one of the storms, red buds. There's
Yes,
some older red buds that are in those medians, and even though they were declining to a degree, we were kind of just leaving them in. Sometimes red buds can go on for years and years and years and look like they're on their last legs, and they do just fine. But anyway, one of the recent storms took them out. Ron has removed them. I'm not sure that anything needs to go back in there. We can look at that maybe when the
Yeah,
budget gets resolved.
I confirmed that those have been removed. So,
Yes, they are removed. Correct.
and what about the ash trees spread to at the exit, Bridgepoint exit? Where is that?
Where are they, did you say? I didn't hear you.
I think I talked to Louis on the phone a couple of days ago, and I think there were 5 of them, but Lee said we should discuss it here in this meeting because a couple of them are fine. You recommended.
Did you see the email I sent out regarding their condition with photos that I sent to the board, Sylvia? That kind of explained it.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you saw it.
So how many trees need to be taken?
Well, there's a total of 7 ash trees along that general area, from the entrance wall on the exit side, going all the way up to the far end of the stone wall, the straight portion of the wall that parallels Bridgepoint Boulevard. The middle 5 of them have been declining for 4 to 5 years, and they have dead branches in the tops. They now currently have a huge number of wild vines that have been allowed to grow over the tops of the trees and even down through the whole tree.
Okay.
And never cut out. And so it gives them kind of a false appearance of being foliated or having lots of leaves, which they don't. It kind of hides any dead branches just to if you're just going by in a car and you look at them, you think, oh, they're fine. But the truth is that they are all infested with emerald ash borers, and have been for a minimum of 4 years, maybe 5. And so they not only have some dead branches in them, but they are now, they lean towards the street because they're leaning towards the street for light, away from the woods behind the wall. And they also have considerable damage on the trunks from the emerald ash borers that tunnel under the bark, and they loosen the bark, and then they cause decay underneath. So in my opinion, and now that we've studied the emerald ash borer, and the scientists have for a number of years now, we know that when ash trees get infested with these borers to this extent, they become, even though they may not be totally dead yet, they become very brittle. And they break off. A lot of times they'll just break halfway off, or just all the way off, And so when you have a minute, you can look at some of the photos I took, and it will explain it a little bit better. But these trees, in my opinion, are all hazards, and they really do need to come out. Okay. Because they're leaning towards the street. And they also have the weight of these vines on them now which is kind of weighing them down. And so for those reasons, I think due to their close proximity to the street,
Okay.
it would be prudent to take them out now so that we don't have them start breaking off and, hitting cars or blocking the road during a storm.
Andrea, how big are they, and is it something that the city crew can do, or is it something we're gonna have to hire somebody?
I think I would guess they're around 8 or 9 inch diameter trees. They're not huge, John, and I do remember having a conversation with Ron about those trees maybe three years ago or so. And at that time, I remember him saying that they might be of a size then that the city might, his staff could remove. Now, I don't know if he still feels the same way about it, but, I'm sure he knows exactly which ones they are, so you could find out.
Why is that a city responsibility? Why doesn't Bridgepoint take care of it?
I was going to ask, is it on our property? Is it owned by the HOA? Because it's the wooded area, and I think there is.
It's in front of the wall. It's between the wall and the street, the edge of Bridgepoint Boulevard.
Okay.
So I
want to say it's city property, don't you think?
I would think it is.
I think we could,
but I think
on previous comments, he must have accepted it as city property because he objected.
I think we need to be sure of that. That's going to be an expensive project.
So basically, we need to verify ownership.
Yeah.
I mean, that's city maintained property in the past when I was working on the landscapes there. I mean, it's mowed by, the city landscape, the landscaper for the city. Those trees are mulched by the city, so I think it's maintained on a regular basis by the city. So I would think they'd be city trees.
I'm inclined to make that conclusion too.
Yes. So then proceeding from the ash trees, there was a question about one of the columnar sweet gums that was planted several years ago along Timber Ridge Drive opposite Smithfield Green.
Yes.
I think that tree just got really stressed. Those trees are in a very difficult planting site. There's a row of them and that were planted. And of course, we don't have any irrigation there. So they get all the, they're very, very close to the street, get all the pollution and hot air and everything else that comes off the street in the summer. And I think it's just gotten stressed. I don't know if it's going to make it or not. It started declining last summer when we were discussing how we were going to water some of the young trees. And it had already been in a couple of years, so it really hasn't gotten any regular watering since then. So I think we'll just have to kind of see how it does this summer. It may be one we'll have to consider replacing down the road. Unfortunately, they're really doing well, but it's just the drought and weather conditions we've had in the last year or two have really been tough on it.
Well, I make a motion that we wait and see, because it does look like it's trying to come back.
Right. It does, yeah. So we'll just have to see how it gets through the summer and maybe evaluate it in the early fall and see.
That's good.
So that's the other thing I had, which Lee, I don't know, do you want to talk about that now? Is the few ash trees I saw on the right side of Happy Hollow Road?
Yeah, I didn't include those in the agenda for some reason. Maybe it came in late. But when I wrote the draft of the summary of Forestation Board activity for City Council, I put it in that we were planning to notify the property owner. It seems in line with your report and the fact that Ron and Mike seem to identify those as being on private property and not on city property.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
so,
okay, okay.
so I don't know that there's anything, I'm gonna write a note to Ron, fill out his form and, have Mike, send a note to the property owners saying they have to take those out.
I didn't mark those trees because at the time I was out there, I was trying to decide, who owned them. And so since Ron sent that email, do you want me to mark them? With
Yes,
like a spot of
please.
paint at the bottom?
Same way, right. Yeah, yeah, mark them.
Yeah, okay,
You
I'll
always
do
put on the form, are those trees marked or not, right?
right. Yeah, well, they're not marked yet, but I'll try to get by tomorrow, if not Monday at the latest, and mark them.
Okay, very good.
Okay, guys, I need to leave. So if I miss anything, please include those in the minutes so I can read. Thank
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. Have a great trip. Have a safe
Sylvia,
trip.
Have a safe flight. Wear your mask.
you.
Yeah.
I will.
Mask.
Thank you.
Hey Sylvia, before you leave, make sure you get that signature on the tree plant.
I'm going to drop it off before I leave. So yeah,
That'd be great.
I'm
Yeah,
going to take.
Right.
Thank.
Thank you. Have a good trip.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. We covered tree removals pretty thoroughly here in several discussions. Next item is public awareness, and Herb had some suggestions, and maybe you want to talk about it a little bit, Herb. How we can improve public awareness.
Herb, we can't hear you.
Believe, but I can mute.
Now we can.
Yeah, I know it. And it's not to your all's benefit, maybe. But anyway, that last situation of people didn't realize that that they just didn't have rights to go cut down trees out near the street. I mean, that they had the right. It bothers them. I have heard people say that the city has a list of all the homeowners associations, and there are a bunch of them out here, 60 or something like that.
No, there's not 60.
Good. And that on the list actually is when their scheduled meeting date. And
I haven't seen that.
okay.
I'd like to.
Yeah. I think, but anyway, if we could get some, well, okay, first of all, would we be interested? And it's not just one person on the board. It has to be spread out to actually schedule a meeting with the homeowner association. It's easier now with Zoom if that's how they're meeting, and just briefly go over this. And hey, that tree out there in front, you just can't cut it down. And we also, at the same time, you hear the other thing. Oh, Arbor Fest, what's that? So at the same time, we could get a little bit of talking about Arbor Fest, and there's people moving in and out, and I think it's worth the effort. It would be an effort to each of us take so many homeowner associations and coordinate with the presidents to get on the agenda. So just so. I realize people can play like, oh, I didn't know, but hopefully this would make people more in the know, and that the homeowner associations would distribute information to their folks about this.
I do know that the police department sends out a spreadsheet at least once or twice a year on HOA contacts, and they ask for board members and phone numbers, addresses, emails. So, they have a communication that we could take advantage of and kind of say, did you know there's an ordinance? Do your residents know there's an ordinance? And it's to the point that even in the newsletter or to go through them, it's kind of like, if Mike were to track what the most common violations are, you could do a ordinance of the week plan and, what do people not know about that's a problem?
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. Yeah. I'm willing to try to find this, or Actually, I think I heard from one of the councilmen about this list because I think when they were running for office, they had this list and they made a point to make the meetings to just introduce themselves.
Yeah.
So I can work on getting
It's
that.
a
Whether
good idea, Herb. I was just say that I've had a couple of nice conversations with the president of Sutherland where we've had the problems. Just recently, they changed the president or the clerk who was in there before moved away. And but I've had discussions with the new president, and he's well informed about the situation.
Well, before the virus struck, which I guess is the beginning of March, sometime February, before that, Greg Hulsman, who's on the council, and he was organizing get-togethers of the different homeowners associations on a regular basis, like every 2 months or every 2.5 months. Since the coronavirus has been with us, that has stopped. But that was a perfect fit for what Herb's talking about.
Yeah,
It would be.
Yeah.
that's
And
too bad.
I don't know whether the neighborhood associations have or have the capacity to have get-togethers like we're having right now. We could ask, but I don't know. I kind of doubt that many of
I
them
just
do.
know from my neighborhood, we haven't done any virtual meetings, but I have emails for everyone that lives in my community other than one person, and he doesn't use a computer. So I think we probably as HOAs have address books that exceed what the city has. And my contact that I send information to is Jill Vitito.
Now, the guy to talk to would be to Greg Hulsman, who was avidly pursuing these get-togethers. And he also is very much in favor of these virtual meetings that like we're having right now. So he would be perfect to talk with Greg. I'll be glad to participate. I was participating in all those meetings when they were happening. And it
Good.
sounds to me like Herb Schulhafer is pawing the ground to do the same thing here. So,
Yep.
Herb, why don't we talk to Greg? We talk to him all the time anyway on that
That's right.
US 42 group. Let's bring it up with Greg.
Okay, will do.
That sounds very good. That's a good initiative.
Be sure to vote for him in November.
Yep. Another item which Herbert, you certainly have advocated, it's a good idea, is purchasing new signs that promote Arborfest that would be displayed outside City Hall. We were going to get bids on those. Were you doing that, or Linda was doing that?
I think Connie,
I was doing that, and before the COVID thing hit, we had that all lined up. And the really nice man who came out, somebody gave, I guess Linda gave me his name.
but the library used them.
Oh, the library. He was just great. But I don't know what's happening now with COVID. He said it would take several months to get back with us, and then with the COVID thing. So
Is the city even going to do Arborfest this fall? Or
good question.
Andrea,
Oh.
it's not possible
up
to
in the
know
air,
what
or-
we're going to be doing this fall.
yeah,
Well, wait, hold on. Our plans are to have it. I've never heard anybody say any consideration not to have it.
No, I haven't either, Herb, but I'm
okay,
just
I
saying,
just didn't know.
this virus is among us. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
I
It's
don't
something we have to think about.
think we're
Right.
gonna be doing it. I doubt we'll do it.
I mean, do we even want to look at, looking into trees, or should we put that on hold for a month maybe and see what by next meeting what might occur or not, what would happen?
Yeah, we can certainly delay it a month or two even,
Well, it's hard to get for the trees if you delay
Well,
it too far.
let's
At least
think
go
about
a month.
Let's
into
think
a
about
month.
this. This is an outdoor event. Okay, the trees are delivered to City Hall. People come, we've had them sign. We maybe just, somebody gets their information and they write it down that they live in Prospect. And we point out the tree they want and they go over and get it. And I don't see why we couldn't be social distanced away, and I don't see where we would have that direct contact. But I'm as cautious as most people, and I sure wouldn't want to put anybody in harm's way, including my family. But right now, I don't see where it would be. Don't even maybe be where people wouldn't be willing to get out, to get in their car or vehicle and drive down there and pick it up. I think we would have to announce it like all the public accommodation places that we're going with the CDC's recommendations and explain to them the situation where they're not directly not directly having contact with somebody. But
Well,
am I
I'm
oversimplifying?
not arguing for or against, but let me make a couple points. Right now, the virus is like a wildfire in this country. And the numbers of new cases are going up in the thousands every day. Maybe not in Kentucky at the moment, we don't know, but in the country generally. That's one thing. And it's not just a question of being in your car and picking up a tree. It's a question of interaction among people.
Right.
Okay. And the other thing is it would be a city-sponsored event. And our insurance does not cover, you can't get insurance that would cover any liability that comes from a city-sponsored event. So I'll just tell you that.
I think we should cancel it.
Okay, that's one. What do you think, Linda?
It really concerns me. You're getting so many mixed messages and it doesn't look like the end is in sight in terms of manages. I would rather be safe than sorry, as much as I hate to walk away from this event.
You're two of the brightest people I know, so I'm on your side. I'm not kidding.
Well, we could
Okay.
wait a month. We might wait a
Yeah,
month or maybe
See how
even two
things are in a month.
and see if there's some change.
Okay.
It'd be nice to think there will be improvement.
Yeah. Okay.
No reason to think that, but you never know.
Exactly.
I'm game.
I think it's the tip of the iceberg. Let's
So I'm in agreement with Connie, but
Yeah.
Let's give it 30 days, Connie.
I left my crystal ball at the office, so
And I'm leaning very much your way, but let's give it, rather than.
Okay.
Okay.
But as far as, let's get back to the signage. Let's be optimistic that they will find a vaccine in our lifetime, and some people will have Arborfest. So let's get working on getting the signs.
like the budget.
Well, I'll get back in touch with
Get a white sign.
that fellow again.
Right.
Andrew could comment on this, but I think that Anchorage has their tree giveaway in the spring. Is that right, Andrew?
They do. The reason for that is that when they have a fall canopy campaign, they have another another forestry board kind of sponsored tree event in the fall. So they moved their tree giveaway with the little trees till spring, just so because it was too much all in one
All at
fall
one time.
season. Yeah, it just got to be.
So that would be another option for us for one
Yeah, you
time.
could do a spring one.
A spring, yeah.
Right.
Right,
Good-
that's
good.
an option.
Good thinking. There's another brilliant mind.
Mhm.
So
I hate to
please,
bring the IQ average down, but it's just the way it is. I can draw though.
The only question would be, would it be as cold as spring morning as it usually all is?
We'll just be happy that we're all there in spring and healthy. How's that?
Sounds good.
Okay.
I do have, you've got that item other, and I'll try to make it quick. It's nothing for right now. We've got the budget already proposed. We don't know if it's going to get approved. But to be, and this, what I'm talking about, it's not in this budget. But, you know, the property in front of everybody's house that's in the right of way. I want a clarification. In my opinion, that is not anybody's property. It's not personal property. It is right of way property. And that the Forestation Board, if they were interested in furnishing trees to people in front of their house, if they wanted it, and on that, it's basically, it is a street tree. That's what it is. But that would take, so I'm putting it out there. That would mean we'd have to go to the council, because that could be a fair amount of money. But I moved into Prospect because it was pretty. So somebody told me that the reason people moved to Prospect because they have police. I didn't even know we had police. I moved in because it's pretty. Well, in my 11 years here, and I see the trees every day, the trees get older, and they got to go away. They got to go to tree heaven. And so we right now have been forced to only think about city property. Well, in my opinion, I'm asking that Lee write a letter to Chris Gorman and the mayor, getting a ruling that if the forestation people wanted to have a program that paid for trees to go in that property, would it be legal?
You took the words right out of my mouth when you suggested asking Chris Gorman, because, I mean, I'm a lawyer and it's my understanding that what you said in one respect is not correct. That, take my house, for instance, I own the land all the way out to the street. It's my land. Now, the roadway easement is just that. It's an easement that has been imposed on land that I own. So the question, the legal question is, can the city spend money to plant a tree on my land? And if it's that, if it were that simple, the answer would be no. But I totally agree that we should ask Chris for an opinion about that.
Well,
I wanted to say that I raised this issue several months ago with council because of the ash tree treatment program. We were treating street trees that had to be ash trees.
right.
They had to be on private property, as just discussed. And the council and Chris Gorman took a position, you stop that right away. And we did.
well,
Remember
I'm going back, you know, architects are a little bit involved in design land. And I don't disagree with the attorney, but I am mayor. I mean, you probably can't see my survey. This is my survey. The dark bold line is my property. The other line out there, it says Autumn Hill Court. It's probably about a sidewalk intent about 15 feet. That is not my property, or this professional survey would show it as my property. And it's everywhere. A right of way is so a utility company can come and do all their utilities, and they don't have.
That's right. That's because the easement gives them just that right. But it doesn't mean that they own the land. It means they have an easement right.
Well, you can call it easement right. It's a right of way. No property owner owns that land.
Yeah, somebody does. Somebody
No,
has
they
to
don't.
own it.
It's right away.
Look, let's not argue now. Let's just put it up to the city attorney.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
And in fact, it might be if I'd like to get the board's opinion if they think this is something that they think would be interested. I mean, it's a little bit of uphill battle because we know the council in the past doesn't really want to spend much money on on new trees. We got to fight for it and this could be, this could be a $20,000 item if people are interested. So I don't know whether your thoughts on, do we want to do that?
Well, we got a lot coming at us in terms of money. We're gonna have to repair the dam at Putney Pond.
Oh, boy.
Probably in the next week. That's gonna be several $1,000s. The entrance to the landings, all those brick walls, there's 3 of them. They're in terrible shape. And we're gonna have to spend about $15,000 just patching that up. So we got a lot of investment to make here in the next fiscal year.
But you got a whole lot of money in reserve to be able to afford stuff.
Yeah, we'll tell that to, never mind who, but members of the council.
Well,
Herb, they've restricted 2/3 of it.
but the one thing I want to say is I'd like to see a vision. And it's a vision to make Prospect, pretty. And I realize the council's doing great getting us garbage and police, getting the tax bills out and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's where their vision stops. I would like to see some vision that is trying to make us a really nice place to live. And that's why I'm involved in the highway project, the US 42 project, trying to make it a safer, better place to live. So I'll get off my platform.
I guess there would be a lot of things to consider once you were able to get any kind of approval in terms of tree placement. Would the owners commit to maintaining those trees? I know we've had some neighborhood issues along that line where the HOA planted trees. The owner promised to take care of them, but didn't.
Well, Linda, the city of Louisville has planted a lot of trees. I don't know if you read about it and everything. And the owners have to sign an agreement that they will maintain it.
So we need something like that as part of our plan.
Yeah.
Well, once you find out what the legal opinion is, we can go one way or the other with it.
That's true. It's just a thought toward the future.
All right, so I guess the board resolution is that I write a letter to Chris Gorman asking for a definitive position.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I so moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll do that. Maybe I'll need a little help from Herb on wording, but I'll try to do that.
Good.
You're my favorite second person. Anybody wants to make a motion? Ask Connie to second it.
Okay. Anything else on publicity?
There's the mail.
I guess not. Could I go back? I've been during this meeting because Monette can't get audio for the meeting evidently. She's been listening, and she had a couple comments about the Sutherland tree that you might want to know about on Turnbridge.
Yes.
Could we just revisit that for a second?
Sure.
So this is through text, but she evidently either knows the neighbor that's complaining or has heard about that neighbor. And she says in this text, the neighbor that's complaining thinks that the other person's arborvitaes. Now, I can't imagine the arborvitaes are doing this because they're not that big of a tree or a shrub. Says the neighbor thinks it's a health hazard because of the overgrowth, rodents, etc. Also, she has incurred $2,000 in bills removing limbs and debris from the subject property. Wants to know if anyone can enforce them cleaning it up. That seems like more than a forestation board issue to me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, would be a nuisance thing.
And she said she's seeing snakes in her pool and she thinks the messy trees are attracting creepy crawlers. I just can't imagine that's all coming from those arborvitaes. Now maybe that resident has other cleanup issues in their backyard that, we're not aware of. I'm not sure. But
Okay.
anyway, she said she's not sure. She just knows that the neighbor next door is not happy with the condition of the trees. And she's tried to reach out to the neighbor, and he basically told her to, kind of kiss off, basically.
Yes,
So, anyway, maybe they can approach it as, maybe Monette can tell her the owner to approach it as a nuisance issue.
Yeah, that question should be posed to the code enforcement, Mike Lesh.
Okay.
He'll take a look at it and he'll make a ruling on whether it's a nuisance or not.
Monette, if you can hear us, will you text me and let me know? I'm kind of the go-between here since she doesn't have audio, I guess. But I'll tell her if she didn't hear it.
that the best, from a city standpoint, to my understanding, the bigger chance would be under nuisance. It doesn't seem to be appropriate for forestation.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I just wanted to pass that on because she was letting me know those things.
Well, we appreciate her being involved, yeah.
We got more of the story now.
Right. Right. So that's all for that. I think that they can go, go that direction.
Okay, go back to the agenda. The next item was the Innisbrook tree request. This is an easy one. The individual contacted me, lives right where that one meeting is at the end of the road there in Innisbrook. It turns out that in our proposed plan, we have a tree slated for that
Yes, we do.
median. So, assuming the council gives us the money, we'll put the tree in.
Sounds like a plan, Lee.
Yep.
Okay. So that's the only thing to comment on that, unless anybody else wants to say something.
Lee, consistent with what I was saying earlier in the meeting about the likely timing of a new budget for the current fiscal year,
Yeah.
the thing to do is to look at the current budget, the one for the year just ended, and see if the money's in there. And if it is, there you are.
Yeah, well, there's two things. First of all, we wouldn't plant till fall anyhow, late fall.
Yeah. Right.
And then secondly, we had no money for tree planting in the last budget, zero. And we were really constrained. We didn't have any tree planting money. We even had a request from the states to plant a tree, and somehow you found the money in a separate budget to give them the tree. But I had to tell them, look, we can't plant a tree in the States because we don't have any money.
You remember it was talked about that 25,000 money that was, well, I can't remember the funny name it had.
Special fund.
Special projects, and I bet you not $1 that was spent last year.
So I think the main thing right now for us tree planting is to wait, see if council approves that budget, which has already been submitted. It has the money for that tree and for the other 16 trees, which we proposed and they never voted on in March.
Right, and just so everybody's aware, if they do approve those funds, we'll have to go back and check tree availability again for the fall.
Sure.
And there may be a few substitutions we'll have to make. It'll be similar, very similar pricing, I would think, or the same. But because some of the trees that I recommended for this spring, there were some oaks and some other, I think there was a couple black gums. They're just best planted in the spring only.
Anyhow. Yeah.
So we'll have to just, trade out a few tree, varieties for something that will do better if it's fall planted.
Fall planting, right.
So anyway.
Okay. And I went to the last item about the committee report. Beside which I was looking for comments, but I would also intend to include the presentation that Linda has, which shows the proposed plan in great detail, the cost, the type of trees, the locations, et cetera, et cetera. No matter what, I'll include that in the committee report as an attachment. Going back to the agenda order, the next item was this Elm on River Road.
Right.
And it seems like, from what Ron said, that, Andrew, we would ask you to contact Metro, or what would you suggest?
Well, no, you said something about it's a metro tree. The
Yes,
problem with Metro Louisville is they don't do much with trees, and you know, that tree, it's an elm tree that's, you know, kind of it's a really pretty tree, and it provides a lot of shade at that intersection. It just kind of weeps over has low hanging branches over the River Road there near the end of Prospect Point Shopping Center. But I'm a little wary of, you know, we have a contact with Louisville Metro. That was that Erin Thompson. Remember when she came and spoke
yes.
all one time? And I think she's still with Metro. We could ask her about it. My fear is if we just let Public Works or Metro, even if they would do anything with it, I'm afraid they're going to butcher that tree. And it's such a nice tree. It needs to be limbed up in a certain way so it's, you know,
Not
attractive.
properly, right.
So I don't know, maybe I could contact her and just see. I think they're way behind on tree work, and I would think with their budget difficulties, they're probably not doing a whole lot. Maybe John would concur with that, I don't know. But if you want, I could see if I could contact her and ask her what the, you know, protocol would be, or what she would suggest. Or we could just table it for a couple months, and it's not, you know, it's not life-threatening, I don't think, but it's just that the branches go overhang the road and they come down pretty low on the other side. And I was just thinking that maybe they would, you know, when it's really wet or raining, that you know, they would become even lower. You know what I mean?
Well, Leon, like, since Andrea offered that, to go ahead and have her try to contact Erin and find out something.
Yeah, I mean, we could just find out how we would go about it if we decide to pursue it. Do you want to do that, Lee?
Yes, please.
That sounds
Okay.
good.
Okay, I'll put that on my notes to contact her then.
Okay, the last item I had on the agenda was this draft report to council on our activities, which I sent around to see if anybody wanted to add or subtract from that. And the mayor did make one comment already on it.
I think it looks good.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it covered the basis of what we've been doing.
Okay. Okay, so
Yeah, I thought it looked good.
we'll attach Linda's many fine slides to that.
I hope they do look at it. I did sit in here their budget talk last, whatever it was, Tuesday. And I did hear where one of the council persons said, we really want to blow through the council, you know, and recommend it to send one page, you know, so they can start talking about budget. But I do hope they take the time. It isn't that much time, but it sure would make them aware. And I think they've asked to be aware. As you remember, we went and talked to them in February, and they told us to come back because they weren't aware. And this is pretty much, you know, pretty much the basis except updated. So I hope they do look at it.
Okay. Also included in that package would be the tree plan, which we approved at the last meeting. And Laura already has that. She was waiting for Sylvia's signature, but Sylvia just told us she will make sure that Laura gets it today. And so there would be 3 items in the council package: this summary, the slides regarding the tree planting program proposal, and then the tree plan, which also references the planning proposal. So that's that. And then from what we heard, Herb and I, on the last budget review that council made on Tuesday at the end, I think they're looking just for a written report rather than some kind of verbal report. Mayor, can you confirm that?
What they're looking for, that's correct.
Okay, so we'll just plan on making a written report. I'll get all this to Laura tonight.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay. Linda, you saw one note Herb had a suggestion about taking the word spring off the removals.
Have to do, I'll do it as soon as we're done with the call.
Do that, and then I'll forward the revised
Okay.
edition to Laura tonight. She said as long as she got it tonight, she was okay.
Okay, not a problem.
Yeah,
Okay.
sitting there listening to budget meetings, I've learned how picky some of the council people are. And I could just see, well, they already did it. Spring has come and spring is sprung. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, additions, or
Yep. Connie, are you still doing a drawing every day?
Who, me?
Yes.
Oh, more than one.
Okay. When you gonna have a show for us?
Oh, yeah, right.
She has a painting of Olmsted that it's priceless. Yep. If you get fortunate enough to see her artwork,
Oh, that's so nice of you.
it is a real treat.
Thank you.
She's a true artist.
Lee,
Well,
what else?
thanks to everybody on the board, whoever may be listening for the public. Linda Wardell said she was going to listen in. That's great. And certainly for the mayor's participation and guidance.
You're welcome.
Okay,
All righty.
Andrea,
thank you.
especially
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
we couldn't
you.
function without
Bye-bye.
you.
Are you gonna make a motion to adjourn or what?
I make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
See, she
Second.
didn't second
I
it.
didn't second it that time. I said it.
Okay. All in favor?
Bye.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
You
you.
had mentioned something before this started. You want me to call you? Mayor?
Are you talking to me?
About the deer?
Oh, okay, the deer repellent. Okay. I'll
Herb,
call
you can call me anytime.
Thank you.
I've got a really good deer repellent too, if you want to call me.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.